There was once a lens, a fast lens, a native lens, a nifty lens, a cheap lens, a lens with promise. But when it was first introduced, it didn't get the greatest of welcomes. So the makers went back to the drawing board and updated its firmware a couple of times. Would that make a difference? Would it make it better? Would it be possible to get decent results from pretty much the cheapest lens in the lineup? Well, let's face it, it's not a G Master, it's not a Zeiss. But let's find out if it's shit. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Adam. I'm a photographer and videographer with a media production company right here in Liverpool. As well as this channel, I shoot photo and video for businesses in and around the area, so I do know what I'm talking about. Kind of. Fake it till you make it, right? Anyway, if you found this video helpful, a click of the like button really does help out the channel. And make sure you subscribe to, oh God, I'm so sick of saying that. You know what to do if you want to do it. Now, if this was a fully manual lens, I'm pretty certain it wouldn't be getting any of the grief it's got in the past. I mean, a fast manual native lens for under £200, in my opinion, it's worth it just to have it as a throw around in your kit bag. And by fast, I mean the aperture can stop down to 1.8, not the focusing speed. Let's have a look at that, because most of the aforementioned shade thrown on this lens has been as a result of the focusing. We're on version 3 of the firmware for a reason. Not ideal conditions or settings on purpose, here it is shooting towards the sun wide open at 1.8, and as a result, cranking that shutter right up to 32/100ths of a second. What 180-degree rule? With face tracking on, it does an okay job and it works fine up to about 30 feet away. The tracking then pretty much gives up. However, cropping into Super 35 mode and the tracking works right up to the fence, which is actually about 45 feet away. There is some noticeable chromatic aberration, as you can see the magenta fringing around my shoulders, but a quick tweaking of the hue versus sat and that's all but gone. How'd you like my fence? I've just painted it for the first time since we moved in 4 years ago. Thanks for noticing. Back out of crop mode, still wide open in that crank shutter, and as you can see, it tracks well across the frame when I'm inside that 30-foot perimeter. By the way, all this zooming and panning has obviously been done in the edit, as the camera was static on a tripod shooting 4K at 25 FPS. Running a similar test now at 3.5, let's leave this static so we can see in real time how that tracking does. It breathes a little as I slowly walk back, as if it gets bored, and yet it's tack sharp once I stop. Also, once I give it any decent movement, the face tracking seems to sit up and comply. Moving around the frame, it's much the same as wide open, albeit a little more accurate. Looking side on, however, and pointing out the placement of the sun, seems to make it spit out its dummy once again. But back in focus further than the 30 feet wide open perimeter and tracking all the way towards the camera. It does have a minimal focal distance of 45 centimeters, but try telling that to Giuseppe. And as for animal eye autofocus, I couldn't tell you, as Seppi seemed to be so content with himself, eyes closed, enjoying the fact that not only was my wife currently preparing his something like 3rd meal in 4 hours, but also he'd just let one rip. Contentment personified. That said, the hybrid autofocus seems to be working nicely when he comes back into shot as I move across the door frame. Steady shot was turned on, and no, the lens is not stabilized, but seriously, it's a very cheap lens. I was pretty close though, and as you can see, just handheld at a little distance, it's really not too bad at all. Thanks for the support, Gino. And even when shooting at a higher frame rate, if you get a good lock on, it can hold it. All in all, is this a good lens? Yes. Is it a great lens? For less than 200 quid, what do you think? Would I use it on a shoot for a client? Absolutely, but not just any client shoot. It's not the 28 to 70 Tamron. Hashtag if you know, you know, right? A73 Facebook group? I take it to any shoot for that shallow depth of field, but I'd only ever use it in manual or for the likes of an insert shot that I was able to reshoot again and again and again if I needed to. So that's our take on the Sony 50mm 1.8 for video. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below, and watch this space. There could be a few more lenses coming up. Viltrox, anyone? I'll throw it up here when it's done and at the end, but make sure you subscribe and have that bell turned on so you don't miss anything in the future. Oh, I had to say it, didn't I? We've also a giveaway coming up very soon, but not necessarily in its own video, so make sure you keep up to date with what we're doing here, as I'd hate for you to miss it. With all that said, my name's Adam, this is Musing of a Man. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.